Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So today in this video we are going to discuss about a very interesting topic of software testing, that is STLC, software testing life cycle. That is very important question for interview also. So first of all we have to know that what is STLC. So STLC means software testing life cycle. What we are going to do here in that STLC process. So first we have to know the definitions of the STLC. What is the definition? What can we say about the STLC? Basically, STLC or software testing life cycle is a step-by-step process. So basically, this is a step-by-step process. Step-by-step process, which is followed by the testing team. So STLC means software testing life cycle, and that will be followed by the tester. So next, followed by the testing team or QA team. Okay. So basically STLC is the step-by-step process which is followed by the testing team. Why we follow that? What is the main reason? To check if the software works correctly. Software works correctly. Software is working perfectly fine or not, that we have to check. And basically this is the step-by-step process. And obviously if we find any bugs, before the software is released, so what we will do? We will perform some operation that will check by the testing team. And what kind of testing we will do? We will check that software is working perfectly fine or not. That is called as STLC process. So STLC is a step-by-step process which is followed by the testing team to check if the software works correctly and find any bugs before it's released. Before go to the production environment, before go to the live environment, we have to some checking. That is called as software testing life cycle. Now, multiple phases we have to follow. Multiple phases are there in that software testing life cycle. Okay, so in the STLC process, lots of phases are there. What are those phases? We have to follow 7 phases. First, requirement analysis, test planning, test case design or development, test environment setup, test execution, then bug reporting and tracking, and then test closure. So there are total 7 steps are there. Requirement analysis, test planning, test case design development, test environment setup, test execution, defect reporting and tracking, and test closure. So what are all those? What do you mean by requirement analysis? What do you mean by test planning? So we'll discuss all these things very clearly. First, so this is the phase number 1, requirement analysis. What do you mean by requirement analysis? Requirement analysis means, first of all, whenever, let's say the example is that, take a very simple example. So what will be happen? Let's say this is one company, and let's say this is one customer. Okay, so this is one company, name it as company, and this is one customer. One company, this is one customer. Now what will happen? Customer will request that company to make a software. So obviously in the customer mind there should be some steps, should be some requirement. Okay, as per requirement we have to, the company will make the software. So whatever requirement is customer providing, to the company, we have to analyze those requirements. Means have to take care of those requirements very carefully. We have to understand the requirement very carefully. Whatever requirement has been given by the customer to the company, those requirements we have to check very carefully. We have to understand that very carefully. Okay. Now, so we have to understand that what to test and gather the testable requirements from the stakeholder or documentation. What is the testable requirement? What we have to test? That everything we have to collect from the stakeholders or customer or from the documentation, we can take care of it. Take a simple real-time example. Okay. Suppose you are testing an e-commerce website. So what are the requirements should be there? Requirement is that users should be able to add items to the cart and check out with the credit card or PayPal. So that was the requirement. That was the requirement. So this requirement we have to understand very carefully, that what we have to do. Whenever we will do the testing, what we have to do? Same thing we have to perform on our testing, right? This is the requirement analysis. So what we have to do? We have to identify the functional and non-functional requirements for testing. So this is the requirement. Requirement says that users should be able to add items to the cart and check out with credit card or PayPal. So this was the customer requirement. Okay. And now we have to, as a tester or testing team, should identify the functional and non-functional requirements for testing. So first of all, we have to read the requirement. We have to understand the requirement. What the requirement is says, that we have to analyze this. Means we have to understand that what to test and gather all the testable requirements from the stakeholder or customer, or we can directly take it from the documentations also. This is called as requirement analysis. Means we have to analyze all the requirements from the customer. Whatever requirement has been given by the customer to the company, that requirement we have to analyze very carefully. That is requirement analysis. Step number 1. Phase number 1. Now, what is the phase number 2? Test planning. So, let's say whenever you are doing anything, suppose you are making a food, suppose you are making pizza, you are making burger. So, obviously, you have some plan in your mind that how you can make. Okay. So, without planning, we cannot do anything. Everything we have to do with some planning. Same for that testing. Whenever we will perform any testing, there should be some plan. Okay. So test planning says that create a test strategy, estimate effort, identify the resources, define the testing tools, schedule the testing activities. Means test in that test planning documentation, we have to mention all of this. Like what strategy we will follow for the testing. What is the estimate effort, or who will be testing in that application, or what kind of tools we will follow, okay, and when we will perform the testing. So everything, this is the plan, this is the total plan we have to make sure on the documentation. Let's say one real-time example. Suppose you decide that you will test the payment module. So who will test the payment module? So suppose there is the application, so let's say this is the requirement, and on the basis of the requirement, when it is come to the testing end, who will test the payment module? Means we have to identify the resources. Who will test the payment module? Let's say four testers are there on the particular application testing. So who will do that payment module testing? Which tool we will use? We can use, should we use Selenium, or should we use any Cypress tool, or should we use any Jmeter? Should we use any Jira for bug tracking, etc. And timeline, testing must be completed in 2 weeks. Means, so estimate effort. Suppose we are checking one login application, how much time it will needed? So that comes under timeline. So testing must be completed in 2 weeks. In the 2 weeks we have to complete the testing, or in the 1 week we have to complete the testing. So this is the test planning. So what plan we will apply for the testing? What plan what plan is there in our mind, that we have to define, and that we have to describe in our test planning document. Okay, so this is very, very important, test planning. Now when the test planning will be done, now my plan is done. Now plan is completed. Now the third step is that test case design or test case development. So what do you mean by test case design? Test case design means first we have to know that what is test. Test case means how to test. Suppose I am testing one login application. Suppose I am testing one login functionality. How can I test the login functionality? Lots of scenarios are there. Lots of cases are there. Example, let's say enter correct username, enter correct password, click on login button. One example. Example 2, enter correct username, enter wrong password, then click on login button. Then 3, enter wrong username, enter correct password, then click on login button, etc. etc. So multiple cases we have. So test case means how to test. I am testing on login functionality. How can I test that login functionality? That is called as test case. So test case means how we can test the application. So in our coming videos, I will discuss test case in a separate session, and this will be a very detailed session. In that session, I will discuss about the test case design template also, no problem. So for now, just focus on that. What is test case? Test case means how to test. So whenever, so as a tester, so when the test planning is done, we have to write the test case. Means how we can test the application. Okay, so we have to write a detailed test case with test steps, input, expected result, actual result, test data, etc. etc. Lots of things are there. So I am just mentioning here only 1, 2, 3, 4, but almost 9 to 10 columns should be there for the test case template. Okay, so lots of things are there, like test scenario, test case, then test steps, test data, precondition, lots of things are there. So basically, my aim is that here, so whenever the test planning has been completed, then we have to write the test case. That is the main thing. How to test? We have to write that in a very detailed way. Real-time example, let's say, write a test case such as test case 1, TC. TC means test case 01. So this is the test case 1. Verify that user can add a product to the cart. This is my test case. Okay, verify that user can add a product to the cart. Test case 2, verify credit card payment flow. Test case 3, verify error when an invalid card is used. This is the multiple test cases we have. We have to write that way. Okay, so now test case design. Now, let's say my test case design has been completed. Now, what we will do next thing is that test environment setup. Test environment setup means we have to set the software and hardware for the testing. Why I am saying hardware? Maybe some testing needs hardware requirement. Okay, that's why whatever requirement is there, whenever we have to test the application, obviously there are some environments should be there. Like environments, we can say lots of things, like in which particular environment I want to test. I already told you that we have 4 environments: dev environment, staging environment, UAT environment, and production environment. So as a tester, we will perform on the staging environment. So we have to make sure that the staging environment is ready. Staging environment is prepared for the testing. That we have to make sure before the testing. Okay. So first, then again we can say that suppose my requirement says that, or customer requirement says that this application will only perform on the desktop application or web application. We don't need any kinds of mobile testing. So for that perspective, we have to set on the let's say a different platform. Like we have to test on Windows, we have to test on Mac, we have to test on Linux, etc. etc. Multiple environment, multiple platform we needed, multiple operating system we needed. That we have to prepare. Then let's say the requirement says that this application will only perform on Chrome and Firefox browser, and after 50 version it will support. So that everything we have to set up before the test execution. Okay, so multiple hardware, software, whatever requirement is there, that configuring should be present before the test execution. So we have to ready that. We need to ready for everything. Now that is called as test environment setup. Real-time example, let's say set up test environment. Let's say deploy the application to a QA server. That exactly what I told you. QA server means staging servers. Deploy the application to the QA server. Configure the database and test data. ensure the integration with payment gateways in sandbox mode. Everything, whatever requirement for the testing, that should be present, that should be needed before the testing, and that is called as test environment setup. Now let's say my environment setup has been completed. Now immediately we will perform the testing. That means we will directly do the testing on that application. That is called as test execution. Now how can we perform the test execution? Whatever test cases I have written, I will follow that particular test cases to perform the test execution. Let's say description I have written that execute the test. Whatever test cases I have written, whenever I will go for test execution, we have to follow all the test cases one by one. We have to execute the test cases, we have to log the result, and we have to report some defects. If found any defect or if we found any bug, we have to report those. Real-time example, let's say we are running a test case 1. Let's say this is a pass. Oh, okay. So item is added to the cart. What is the test case 1? Verify that user can add a product to the cart. Let's say this is a pass. So product has been added to the cart. Okay, item is added to the cart. Now let's say test case 2 fails. What is the test case 2? Verify credit card payment flow. So whenever I am performing, whenever I am trying to some payment flow by using some credit card, let's say this is giving me an error. Payment gateway throws error. Whenever I am getting this, that means as per expectation, what is the test case 2? Verify credit card payment flow. So this payment flow is not working. That means there is some bug. Okay. So obviously we have to raise a defect in the Jira and assign to that particular developer. That is called as report bugs. Okay. So test execution means we have to execute the test cases based on the test case, whatever test case we have written. What test case we have written, we have to perform one by one on that execution phase. The phase number 5, test execution. Let's say my test execution has been completed. So now we have to do some defect reporting and tracking. Whenever we are testing an application, if we found any bug, we have to log that bug. Let's say we are following some Jira for the logging. Okay, for the bug tracking tool, we are using Jira. So we have to log the bugs in defect management tool. We have to track the status, and we have to do some retest when the bug has been fixed. So everything, that defect reporting and tracking, everything should be there. I got a bug. Developer will fix that bug. So again, we have to do some retest. Okay. Let's say we have reported a bug 1. Let's say payment fails with valid PayPal account. We are using some valid PayPal account, but still the payment is failed. We have created the bug. Let's say this is the bug ID, bug 01. The bug ID, developer has fixed that bug. Now, when the developer has been fixed, then as a tester, we have to retest the bug. And if the bug is passed, if the bug is working perfectly fine, then we have to close the bug. Okay, mean we are doing full tracking system. First of all, we are report those defects, and we are tracking all of those bugs. Called as defect reporting and tracking. And final thing is that test closure. Test closure means test has been completed. Means we have finalized the test results. We have documented the test result. Some lesson we have learned. It meets all the exit criteria. Okay, so everything has been completed. Means the test case is closure. Let's say create a summary report. Total test case, how much cases, what is the total test case? Let's say I have written total 50 test case. Okay, in that 50 test case, let's say 48 are passed, 2 are failed. For that 2 failed, we have created Jira. Let's say bug 01, bug 02, and those has been fixed by the developer and has been retested by the tester. Okay, so this is a detailed report. Means whenever we are closing anything, we have to do some documentation. We have to create some report. So this is the total summary report. And whatever lesson we learned, that should also noted there. Let's say early involvement in requirement review, self-identify missing scenarios, etc., etc. So this is the test closure. Means the test has been completed and the ticket has been done. Okay. So now we are very much clear about this, all of these Steps like requirement analysis, test planning, test design or development, test environment setup, test execution, defect reporting and tracking, and then test. Clear? This is the clear. This is the software testing lifecycle phases. Now, taking one real-time example. Let's say I am testing one banking app login feature. Okay, so by this feature, how we can apply all of those things? Let us check that. Okay, now let's say real-time example, banking app login. What is the STLC in action? Let's say first is requirement analysis. We have to understand the user must log in with a username and password. Let's say with 3 failed attempts locking the account. Okay, as this is the banking app, obviously there should some security restriction should be there. Let's say if any user tried with the 3 times with the wrong username password, the account will be blocked. So this is the requirement. This is the requirement that we have to understand the requirement, understand that user must be logged in with a username password, and if any user tried with 3 failed attempts, the account should be blocked. So this is the requirement analysis. Now test planning, plan to test login on desktop or mobile app. We have some given some estimate 2 days. Let's say we have assigned that to a particular QA. Let's say I have assigned to the John. Okay, and let's say in my application we will perform automation testing also. Okay, so this is a test plan. Test plan means I have already discussed here. What is test plan? Test plan means we have to create some test strategy. We have to estimate the effort, identify the resources. We have to define the tools, testing tools. We have to schedule the testing activities, etc., etc. So these all are the test planning things. Now test case development means we have to write the test case. So for the multiple functionalities, we have to write the test case. So lots of functionalities should be present in our application, and we have to write the test case based on the functionality. Let's say write a test case for valid login, lockout scenario. Okay, lockout scenario means after 3 failed attempts, the account would be locked. It's a locked out scenario. We have to write the test case. Now we have to set up the environment. Let's say deploy banking app build on QA environment with test credential. That should be present. That is the environment setup. Test execution and all the login scenarios. Find the bugs where the lockout doesn't trigger. Test execution means whatever test cases we have written here, we have to execute all of those the test execution process. Now, if we found any bug, then we have to go for the bug tracking or defect tracking. So whatever bug we find out, that should be reported on the Jira. Then developer will fix it. Then as a tester, we have to retest. That's it. Next tip is the closure. Closure means we have to submit the test report. We have to create a test summary report. We have to submit that. Then we can do the sign off. Sign off means we are giving some green signal. Yes, this application is working perfectly fine. Means we are doing a sign off. Okay. The test close. This is a one simple summary I have noted down. This is we can use as a cheat code. Okay. We can use this as a cheat code. So before the interview, let's say tomorrow is the interview, you can just see this. Okay. Requirement analysis means, so first here I have written some phase and here is the objective. Requirement analysis. Requirement analysis means what to test. This is the requirement analysis. Test planning means how to test or who will test. Test case development, write the detailed test steps. Environment setup, ready the system for testing. Test execution, run the test and log the bugs. Defect tracking, we have to follow some report and we have to manage the bugs. And test closure means wrap up and report the results. This is the summary. This is the basic summary. So we have total 7 steps. This is the 7 steps and this is the objective in a very simple one-line statement. This is the objective. To remember these things, this will be very helpful in your interview purpose. So now guys, we are very much clear about that software testing lifecycle or STL. It's a very important thing in our day-to-day life also. As a QA career in your day-to-day life, it's a very important thing. Now you guys are very much clear about that. So if you guys have any doubt, please comment me. I will solve. And if you guys like my video, one thumbs up, share this video to your friends, to your channel. So see you in the next videos with some interesting topic of software testing. Thank you.